If you wanted to impress, let's say, your 12-year-old nephew, how would you describe what you do?
That's a good question, actually.
It's a good one. I'll say I do
brand new. Timing is everything. What you say? Brand new.
Okay, it's official. Welcome to Brand New by Clickbait, our new podcast format, our very first episodes. The idea with this podcast is that we're going to be talking within the topics of brand strategy, brand identity, and brand activation, which happen to coincide with the services we do within our company Clickbait. But the idea of this podcast is not to talk about us, but actually talk to others that happen to know a lot more than us in their specific areas of expertise. And today, we happen to have quite the expert in the house. Who do we have, Vicente?
Yeah, so today we're focused on brand activation, specifically within B2B enterprise sales. And we are joined by Tuna Baysal. Baysal, am I saying that right?
Baysal. Yeah.
Baysal, yeah, perfect. Specifically, a certified LinkedIn marketing expert and growth marketeer. Tuna, how would you define actually what you do?
It's a good question because our landscape has changed throughout the years. But firstly, let me give just a short introduction. Yes, my name is Tuna. I'm 38 years old. I've been working within the digital marketing landscape for more than 12 years now, within several industries like from IT to engineering, insurance and telecom, and fintech. So what I'm really doing is, I think the term today will be growth marketing, because the growth marketing is all about activating the brand throughout, especially the digital marketing landscape and digital channels. So, and of course, having the responsibility to increase the pipeline value, and this is what growth marketeers are doing.
So, out of all the places you could specialize in, and all the places where companies can be found through the digital space, how did you land on LinkedIn?
It's actually because my experience in the B2B landscape, where it was like for 6-7 years ago, where I started advertising on LinkedIn, and I immediately saw the results. And it was actually pretty cool to see how far you can get with your brand activation, generating leads, generating pipeline, using LinkedIn as the strongest growth enabler. And the way I see LinkedIn in general is not as a silo channel. It's very important to build your marketing ecosystem, and then use LinkedIn as the most important channel to grow your business by connecting it to other digital channels, your platform, to technologies, and so on, which we can discuss later. But so LinkedIn as a standalone channel is not what I'm talking about. It's actually to benefit from all these great features LinkedIn has to grow your brand and company.
Actually, now, I mean, we're throwing around a lot of terms here. Maybe just for the people who are kind of new to this space as well. B2B enterprise sales, what does that really mean?
Yeah, again, a very good question. B2B enterprise sales is does really mean that if you have long sales cycles, and long sales cycles means it could be like between 1 to 3 years to close a deal. That's actually enterprise sales. We also have, working with startups, for instance, with micro SaaS businesses, which is more transactional than relational. And in enterprise sales, relation is everything, because you have to build trust and credibility over a long period before you can even close a sale. So there's a huge difference how you would approach a micro SaaS, for instance, or a startup business with transactional sales and enterprise sales. So yeah.
Can you give an example of maybe what Tana, you said, micro SaaS and enterprise? Could you give an example of maybe some businesses people might know about that are in micro SaaS and some that are in enterprise sales?
Yeah, for instance, if you talk about core platforms, core systems, professional services, where you have to have an implementation period of like a couple of months, 6 months, these heavy technology companies would be an enterprise business. It could be, for instance, core insurance platforms, which is basically the where I have my experience.
And then actually now the second point to that was I introduced you as certified LinkedIn marketing expert.
Yes.
You just recently got certified. Can you actually explain to the people that might not know what that is, what that entails?
Working within LinkedIn advertising space for many years, have given me the opportunity to send an application for the LinkedIn Certified Marketing Expert program, which is actually a 3-month program. We have to go through several exams or courses. LinkedIn on the website are providing 3 basic courses with 60 questions where you have to have 45 correct answers, and from there you will be able to be invited for an interview and send references and so on. You can read more about it on the website about the whole process. But actually, it's a 3-month process, and at the end, if they invite you for the program, then you will be invited to London to go through the last workshop. And after the workshop, you will actually be a certified LinkedIn marketing expert. It was a great experience. So all the LinkedIn marketers out there are definitely recommended to look and learn more about their certification program and the process.
And what would you say is like the key thing that kind of like now sets you apart from maybe some others in the space by having the certification?
It's just a recognition from LinkedIn themselves, and it opens up with a lot of opportunities where you can also increase your personal branding, your thought leadership, and so on. And on LinkedIn, you can you get access to knowledge and new features as one of the first persons. If you are a certified LinkedIn expert. As I remember, we have like now 90 people around the world who is certified. In Denmark, it's like 6 people, as I know. So working as an in-house marketeer the most of my career, it has now opened up for more opportunities to stay at the forefront of the technology that we are using to increase our pipeline and business.
And now I'm just a little curious.
Yeah.
When you say that you're kind of introduced to new knowledge and technology, can you give an example of something that you've kind of gotten access to before anybody has?
Yeah, exactly. For instance, when they run out these beta tests, it could be. I remember also within when thought leader ads was new, and now they're running out the newsletter ad formats. So, and also regarding courses and especially they are sending your specific invites to test out some stuff. You will probably be one of the first one to try it. For now, I haven't received for the new technologies that will come here into 2025, but I'm expecting to test out some of the new features coming up.
And what would you say in terms of new feature that come out? Let's look at maybe the last couple of years. What has been one of the most kind of like game-changing feature that had really impacted the way people work on the platform?
Yeah, very good question. I work with thought leader ads a lot, and I know it has been a huge success. The reason is that thought leader ads can actually promote your employees, your founders, your C-levels on LinkedIn, and where you can actually create, for instance, high quality videos and make them post on their website, on their LinkedIn page, and from there you can actually sponsor it to promote it to your audience. And thought leader ads has the highest engagement rate compared to the other ad formats that we can talk about, like single image ads or video ads and so on. But thought leader ads comes from a personal profile, which makes it more interesting to people. And that's why the click-through rates, for instance, and the engagement on thought leader ads are pretty high compared to the other ones. And here I will definitely put thought leader ads at the top of the funnel, for instance, to get as much exposure as possible to what your target audience. So yeah, I'll say thought leader ads is definitely one of the best ad formats they have published recently.
And now you just said another term, full funnel marketing approach.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
It actually means that you are defining the whole customer journey. So you're mapping up the journey from the beginning to the end of the journey. It doesn't really end, because then you have churn strategies and retention and so on. But mapping out the first step of the customer, how they're getting to know you, and planning the whole journey, how you could impact the customer, how you could like educate it throughout the stages in the customer journey. And LinkedIn wise, what we normally do, what LinkedIn marketers are doing, is actually building the funnel, and within the LinkedIn campaign manager, using the LinkedIn tools, building the top funnel, mid funnel, and bottom funnel. And very basically, it's like when your prospects or your audience are interacting with your top of funnel activities with using these different ad formats, then you can retarget them and re-engage with these existing prospects by using the mid of funnel activities. And just to give you some examples, when you have a well-defined, let's say ideal customer profile, what we call it, is the ICPs, and from there you will typically have a total addressable market from scratch. And just to go back to the basics, right? So what you normally do is actually together with the C-levels or key internal stakeholders, you define your target audience, your value propositions, your unique selling proposition, and so on. So assuming you have everything right from the beginning, or you have a reasonable amount of information from the key internal stakeholders, you'll from here go to market. And what we're talking about is actually a go-to-market strategy, and how you would prioritize based on the budgets you have, right? And here you will slowly build your full funnel marketing approach, especially on LinkedIn, but also still connecting it with the other digital channels. And how it's going to be maybe a more technical question or a technical approach, but based on the interactions that you receive from your prospects on LinkedIn, especially when we talk LinkedIn alone, you will be able to retarget them through across different communications. So when they are at the awareness stage, they don't know about your business, your brand, or anything yet, you would firstly promote, for instance, some videos. We use a lot of video ads, for instance. It works very well. I also definitely recommend that. And based on how much of the videos they have watched, you can actually retarget them. So let's say that you have thousands of your prospects on LinkedIn have watched 25% of your video. It could be 50% or 75% or 97% of your video. You could actually create sub-segments of those that have interacted with your video or just watched minimum 25% of a video. Then you at least know that they have some interest in your product, in your solution, or in a company. And from there you can build the next stage of your funnel, just taking one single ad format into account, right? And the next thing will be, if you have a bunch of prospects interacting with your videos, your single image ads, your posts, or whatever, then you will be able to build another segment which will be much smaller than the first one, right? Let's say you are targeting 100,000 professionals on LinkedIn, then you have a retargeting group of, let's say, 10,000, just to give an example. And then you can nurture these group of 10,000 people with the next message, which will be, all right, these 10,000 people are prospects on LinkedIn. They know exactly who you are. They watch your videos. They have interacted with your ads and posts and so on. And from there, So like what's next? What would you show them next? It could be customer cases, for instance. It could be use cases. So you will typically put these kind of ads and content to the what we call middle funnel, right? And then you will get a pool for these interactions. Let's say of 5,000 or let's say 2,000 professionals. So then and now you actually have 2,000 professionals on LinkedIn of your audience who's highly engaged with your content, right? So at the bottom funnel, you will push more product-related content. It could be your features or your exact solutions, how you solve exact pain points, and so on. And from there you will have these hard CTAs, what we call call to actions, and from there you will be able to book demos or meetings if you're a consultant or whatever, and in that way you create a structured approach to full funnel marketing. Also remember that you're also attracting a lot of traffic from your other channels. It could be like Google Ads, where I normally start. Google Ads is always the first paid channel most of marketeers or growth marketeers are starting with, because here you can always have existing or capture existing demand. So, and you can actually also retarget this existing demand on Google, on LinkedIn.
What do you mean by capturing existing demand? What is existing demand when you use Google?
Existing demand is, for instance, if you have, let's say, a CRM system, right? So CRM systems, you can find plenty of them. So it is an well-established category. So in this case, you could capitalize on the existing demand of people searching for CRM systems, right? And if you're on a low budget, for instance, you will typically start retargeting, capture the existing demand on LinkedIn, make them visit your website by buying these keywords on CRM systems, CRM solution, CRM software, CRM platform. You can search in many different ways, and from there you will retarget and nurture the traffic coming to your website through these Google ads, and retarget them on LinkedIn. And that's basically the difference between demand capture and demand generation. LinkedIn is not really a demand capture channel. That's not how I see it or how I use it. Where Google, using Google Ads is always a good one, because just from my own experience, Google Ads can give you the quickest wins. Is low-hanging fruits, because people are already searching for your category. So why not start there and capitalize on that demand on other channels when you connect all the channels together?
So as a company, how can I assess whether I should focus my efforts and resources onto demand capture or demand generation? So how do I make that assessment?
Yeah, it totally depends on the unique case, of course. If it is a well-established category, you'll typically capitalize on existing demand. If it's a new category, you have to build the demand, because people don't know the category yet. And here you can, of course, there's a lot of different tactics that no one size fits all. But if you have the budget, you could slowly build your presence on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is the only platform that can target your custom audience, from all the filters, from job in your titles, your industry, your skills, and the companies you're targeting. Otherwise, of course, you can invest in SEO and email marketing. But from an ideal point of view, you have to, if you have the budget, of course, establish throughout all these tactics, as long as you are aligned with your company and with the business objectives, you are aligned with sales, assuming that you have this internal buy-in and alignment, you can easily establish on these different tactics by building the ecosystem first of all.
Can you give 2 examples of one company where it would really make sense to focus on demand capturing, and another company where it would really make sense to focus on demand generation?
If you're asking for specific brands, I don't really mind on mentioning any brands right now. But let's just take another example, saying, for instance, if you have an established category and you're starting with a low budget, just to take a
Well, when you say category, you mean industry that's already existing, right? It's
Exactly,
not like a new innovative product that just came out.
Yeah,
and okay.
yeah, exactly. And people are talking about AI agents now, right? A lot. For instance, just to give an example. So if you are new to AI agents and it is not a well-established category as I see it right now, but I believe that it will be huge in 2025. So people will capitalize on the hype behind AI agents and will start building companies based on AI agents, right? So it is actually a kind of a new category that you're going into. So in this case, if you are an AI agent consultancy company, for instance, you will start capturing see if there is any demand. If people are already searching for these kind of services. If not, you will focus on, of course, the brand awareness part first of all, creating a lot of great content around it, and if people are already searching for it, you will of course start with the Google ads as the first tactic. So just to mention a few examples on that part.
I think that's actually super interesting. So the way I've understood it, just to summarize it, is that the first step in your head should always be to see if there is demand to capture in the first place.
Exactly.
On Google.
Yeah.
And then if there is, leverage that, and then also think about and consider LinkedIn in demand generation.
Yeah, right? LinkedIn is it has higher prices, so you should be very cautious on how to spend your money on there on LinkedIn. But definitely start with these search channels. Also, of course, Bing. UK is using Bing a lot.
I didn't know Bing still existed. I mean,
so I think ever since AI, they've come back a little bit.
Yeah, they're doing their best to get up there. Okay.
Yeah, but of course, Bing is huge in UK, not in Denmark or Scandinavian countries. But you can easily replicate your Google Ad account structure and just duplicate and migrate into Bing if you want to target the UK customers. So that's very easy to do, actually, from the practical point of view. But yeah, I will definitely start. If I had some ad spend, I will always start with demand capture. And build the demand generation, slowly on the side as we grow.
So if there are people listening to this right now and thinking, okay, I have not tried this before, but our business is big enough and we want to try to invest in, at the very least, starting with demand capture, what are the biggest mistakes you've seen people kind of often do when getting into it the first time?
The tracking part. So if you if you don't have your tracking set up correctly at the from the start, is like so that you wouldn't be able to capture or retarget or do anything at the beginning from the beginning. So having the tracking in place, that it is actually the most crucial and the first thing you should ever do when you jump into any channel. It is also not only Google, but also LinkedIn or Bing or whatever. You should always be able to track the behavior, on your website and in general, if you want to utilize and capitalize on the engagement that you're getting across the digital landscape, you should always be 100% sure that your tracking is working. So just starting, without being 100% sure that your tracking is set up correctly, I'll definitely look into that. And still, today I'm still looking into tracking once in a while, just to make sure that we are capturing everything that we want. And from there, also forgetting to set up retargeting campaigns. And you can't do retargeting without setting up the tracking correctly. So this will be the basic stuff. And when you're like slowly growing or starting on for instance Google Ads, the most basic will be to capitalize on your brand if you have existing brand recognition that people are searching for. Because what people do, or the competitors will do, if they, as soon as they see that you are a competitor, they probably target the search terms when people are searching for a company. And this is also something that I have experience in, where we target competitor traffic. So that's one of the basics, ad campaigns that you would create on Google. And then, of course, you have the most important part is the category campaign. So do your keyword analysis and start finding out how are your competitors or potential prospects searching in your category. Just to give an example, are they searching for CRM solution? Are they searching for CRM software? Are they what are the most popular keywords that they are looking for? And based on that, you should, especially if you're in the software niche, they have many terms, different terms. You should be able to create a category campaign to capitalize on your category. And so you have your competitor campaign, you have the category campaign, and then you will have your brand campaign. And from there you can just scale if you have the volume enough for these search terms. So in general, this was what I would look into.
And can you give, so now we got further out away from the tracking portion, but you said one of the biggest mistakes people often make is that they're really good at kind of capturing the demand because they've found the right terms to use, but they're bad at tracking, which kind of is shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
How does it look like? Can you give an example of someone that's doing tracking well?
Yeah. If you're doing tracking well, you will see a significant increase in your traffic in general, your website traffic, right? So if you are having campaigns that are with certain landing pages, you will definitely be able to see that an uplift in behavior, and also regarding how much they scroll, for instance, if you are tracking the scrolls. And so the behavior in general will increase. If it isn't increasing, if it's not increasing, then there's probably an error or some mistakes in your tracking.
But help me understand. So how does the tracking increase the behavior? So the way I understand tracking is that you observe the behavior and then there's learnings from it. But am I understanding correctly that you're saying it increases the behavior?
It's not. It is recording the behavior. So if you do not have a right tracking in place, you will not be able to record or track the behavior. And if you're not tracking the behavior, you will not be able to get all the engagement retargeted in other platforms, for instance. So if you're not increasing the behavior, you're just tracking it. So you'll probably lose some behavior or engagement on your website if you're not tracking correctly. That's why it's so important, because you're actually buying the website traffic. So not tracking it correctly would make you lose a lot of engagement, which you can't capitalize on or nurture further, right?
That makes sense. Yeah. So you said one key mistake to avoid is to really track from the beginning.
Exactly.
Or rather, the mistake would be not tracking from the beginning. Is there any other big mistake when it comes to tracking that you would recommend to avoid?
Yeah, especially when we talk about, for instance, LinkedIn. People sometimes also, I see when I advise, board members or other C-levels in different companies, what I see is that LinkedIn is really pushing what they call conversion APIs. Mm-hmm. And the conversion APIs is actually where you share your first-party data from your CRM system with LinkedIn. So there's a kind of a data flow between LinkedIn and your CRM, which is actually the most important part, because this is here where you are closing deals and nurturing your prospects and so on. So based on setting up the conversion APIs, need you to connect your ecosystem with LinkedIn. And if you don't have that tracking in place, you would not feed LinkedIn with the right engagement and interactions with your audience across your platforms to make to improve your campaign performance on LinkedIn. So the more data, the more first-party data you can send or share with LinkedIn based on data, based on behavior, the better your campaigns can perform, and the conversions would be attributed to these campaigns on LinkedIn, for instance. So conversion APIs is definitely also something that I see that people forget a lot.
I would like to come back to one thing that you mentioned a little bit earlier, where you talked about basically the right content mix do you use actually to run your marketing funnel, where you touched on that video, for example, is one thing that works very well on LinkedIn. But what would be some advice for you to a company to understand, like, do I need actually more video? Of course, video is also quite an expensive format to produce. So what are telltale signs that maybe I should invest more in video, because it is quite likely that it would give me basically more than I invest out of it? How do I find the right content mix?
Yeah, very good question. You should always have several content and angles especially when you promote on LinkedIn. And videos, from my experience, it works the best. And when I say works the best, it's because it's so easy to retarget people who are viewing your videos, right? And you can easily retarget the mix you also get, or the traffic you get from YouTube, because especially when you have a good high quality video, you can promote, especially on the top funnel of LinkedIn, to present your company, your solution, and when they click on the video, for instance, and visit the website, then they will be retargeted not only on LinkedIn but also on YouTube, for instance. And people go to YouTube to educate themselves. And YouTube is also a highly anticipated channel for education. And so do not use videos and expect instant ROIs, or because it is not a lead generation. It's not an ad format for lead generation, but I believe that it is the best format for brand awareness purpose. If you want to increase your brand, if you want to increase your reach, and if you want to have different angles with your messaging. And the reason I say different angles is because when we talk about a full funnel marketing approach that you're asking for, then you will be you will have to take into account who you're targeting, right? And sometimes you can have different departments in your customer journey. So especially in the enterprise sales, when you have a well-defined target audience, and buyer persona, for instance, then you will be able to target different departments. It could be the technical profiles, sales profiles. It could be the financial profiles. So you really have to be aware of who are you targeting, who are you speaking to. So do you have a technical value proposition, or do you have and what's the benefits of your solution for the other departments? And you really also have to take that into account to if you really want to nail your targeting with smaller segments. But the general recommendation will always be that start broad and see who is really reacting to your campaigns, and based on the data that you analyze, you can double down on the other content pieces. So the content mix will generally, especially if we are talking about LinkedIn, will definitely be a video, which will be my first priority. Then you will have thought leader ads, which is again very good on top funnel, and then they have single image ads. Single image ads is these square images that you see when you scroll on LinkedIn, and the aspect ratio is 1:1. Which actually fits into all devices. So it rather use mobile devices, tablets or desktops. It doesn't really matter. So that's why I always recommend 1:1 as the aspect ratio of what we call single image ads. And from there, you will also have webinars, for instance. Webinars is very efficient if you really want to attract, more in depth of your knowledge, and build this credibility and increase your trust. Then I really see that webinars with small snippets can also do a huge difference in the engagement of your prospects.
And Actually, one thing that I've noticed in a lot of the companies we've collaborated with, and just generally companies that are quite new to running ads on LinkedIn, is that yes, they understand that a funnel exists, but often they skip several stages of this funnel.
Yeah.
And they go straight down. I can hear you might have experienced that before. And they go straight down to kind of the
Lead
bottom.
gen?
Yeah, the lead gen,
Lead
the bottom funnel, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
What are the pitfalls to doing just that?
I think you will spend a lot of money on trying to utilize LinkedIn as a lead generation channel. You can generate a lot of leads. You can really do that. You can also do that on the top of the funnel. But don't expect them to convert, because if you're selling an enterprise solution, nobody will buy from you just because you have a guide or a really cool white paper that you're trying to promote, and they will. You can get a lot of downloads, right? But normally, what I have experienced, I did also push a lot of lead generation campaigns at the top funnel. When I say lead generation, you have to align with sales, what that really means, right? So if you're just pushing guides and white papers at the top of the funnel, you will see downloads, but the quality of those leads won't be that high. So I can only say that if you have a strong nurturing program or a follow-up program beyond LinkedIn, if you have a good email marketing program, for instance, then you might be interested in increasing your future buyers in CRM. And the way you can do that is, of course, getting a lot of value up front, and you can still push the lead forms, what we call lead generation forms, right, on at the top of the funnel. And when people download it, they will automatically be created as a lead in your CRM, and then again be automatically be a part of a specific program that you have designed in CRM. But if they just download a white paper or a guide or whatever, and they just die in CRM and everybody forgets it, it doesn't really make sense. Then you spend a lot of money unnecessary, right? So that's why sales and marketing alignment is very important. They should exactly know step by step what to do with a lead when it comes in. So if you don't have a strong follow-up program, don't spend money on lead generation at the top funnel. But instead, you can do it at the bottom funnel, because then you know that they are that they know you. They have seen webinars, they have seen customer cases, use cases, and suddenly you can start pushing your strong CTA. Whether it's book a meeting or book a demo or free call or whatever you call it. That's why I prefer to do it at the bottom funnel if you don't have a strong follow-up program at the top of the funnel.
So you're saying that actually investing the proper time with your team, making sure you're aligned, and actually creating a full funnel strategy with intent is more often than not a better investment than just throwing a few ads out there with the purpose of lead generation, because in your experience that leads to poor quality and often a more expensive per lead cost.
Exactly.
Is that right?
100%. So the more aligned you are with your internal key stakeholders, the better. And you should definitely revisit your total addressable market. What most of the B2B companies are doing. They are defining their ideal customer profile based on firmographics, the demographics, and the countries, for instance. And you can go a bit deeper on that. Also segment them based on the technology they have in the company. If you have a specific solution that matches a specific technology, for instance, let's say if you are a Salesforce consultant, then you might target companies who are already using your platform, right, to do some upsells and so on. But the most important part here is, of course, to align on your target audience. That's very it's common sense, right? And when you have your target audience, you should definitely align. Like this, if you want to go back to basic, so what I always start with is to gather all the key internal stakeholders. You do workshops, of course. You define your ideal customer profiles. You should be 100% aligned on your buying committee. The buying committee is, of course, all the people that are that have an important stake in the decision. That might also be the CFO, even though you're not targeting the CFO, right? It's not the CFO would never be the target buyer, but it has a huge influence on choosing a platform, especially if it's enterprise sales, right? Because and you could also target procurement, legal. They are not the users of your platform, for instance. It might not be if you don't have a compliance platform and so on, but if you are selling a very technical solution, you might consider who is a part of the buying process in general, and map all these functions, the departments, and so on. And from there, you can you see a better picture of your buyer group, and because this is gonna decide all the content production that you will do later on. So when you have all the strategy in place, you have your business objectives, right? And you have your sales and marketing alignment on how to support the business objectives, the overall business objectives. And from there, you have aligned your exact ICPs, your buying committee, your value proposition, right? Your USPs, you have everything aligned. Then you're good to go. But before that, I won't invest in LinkedIn at all.
Okay.
Right.
At all. Actually, you come up with like two really interesting points here. I feel one I wanna touch on in a bit is the marketing and sales alignment, because there's often a disconnect in a lot of the companies that we've talked to, right? But right now you just said you kind of with your team map out the buyer committee. Are you saying that you kind of create content to target each of them individually, or do you kind of target all of them and put them in the same funnel?
It's actually a very good question, because what I normally start with is it depends on the resources you have, right? If you're a one-man army, you might not be able to create content for each of the persona. It's almost impossible. But if you have huge teams, if you have the content resources, you might try out different things. So what I normally start with is having this high-level value proposition, right? You have your high-level USPs and promoting them to your buyer group. And the reason I do so, you don't have to have, even though the let's say the procurement or the CFO, the financial department is not part of your platform based on usage, but it's still very important to make them know of your brand, because LinkedIn recently published another research which says that 49% of the decision is made of those who are not in your the target buyers.
Really?
Yeah. So the decision-making process is very important for the whole the buyer group, and it means that you should really consider who are we actually touching and talking to, and who is influencing the people that we are talking to throughout the whole customer or the whole buying process. So it actually means if legal or CFO or the other parts of the company or the departments don't really know your brand, they still prefer to choose a brand they know, even though the target buyers know that your technology might be better. So that's why very important to increase awareness within the company across the departments. That's so that's actually something that I really recommend to do.
So if we kind of go full circle with this whole topic, right? And now back to kind of the marketing and sales alignment here. Yeah. You mentioned that this kind of enterprise, B2B enterprise sales is defined by sales cycles that usually last between 1 to 3 years. Let's say in a perfect situation, you have this whole setup amazingly kind of tried and tested. How does a really, really good full funnel marketing strategy influence sales? Is that more kind of decreasing the timeline, make it easier for the client to say yes to the salesman? How does that really influence it?
Yeah, I can mention a couple of examples from my own experience. What the full funnel marketing does is that when sales has the first call with the potential prospect or leads that we have generated through your full funnel marketing, they already know a lot, and that's actually a huge advantage. I have experienced being in demos in these meetings where they actually know the guy who's going to demo there.
Nice.
Right. So and they even mentioning it. That's pretty cool. It actually tells that it works what you're doing, right? And I also recently experienced in a highly anticipated meeting with a huge opportunity where they mentioned all the videos they have seen with our CEOs, and actually there was a kind of a message saying I see too many times maybe. So, but it's all about the frequency that you should look into. But it's actually still a good message to have in mind that people are watching the videos, they are being impacted, and the journey is pretty long. So leads coming from your full funnel marketing approach will definitely increase the quality of the meetings, and also improve the sales velocity when you have a sales cycle between 1 to 3 years if you are doing it right from the beginning. And based on especially looking into the customer journey, we could also mention today's attribution software, for instance. And looking into the attribution software, you will be able to see how long it takes from first touch to last touch. And I have a lot of data that I'm analyzing where you can observe your first touch was actually for 2 years ago, for instance. And you see all the videos or the campaigns they have been exposed to, and how they are being educated throughout 2 years. And after 2 years, you can easily see the patterns. It's almost always the same. They are being educated through LinkedIn, for instance, and before they convert, they do a Google search, and your ad or your pop up or you pop up organically. It doesn't really matter. And then they convert through a Google search, even though you have done so many activities on LinkedIn. And that's really a pattern I see again and again, which is quite interesting because they're not really clicking on LinkedIn ads to book a demo. They are actually still searching for your category, and as soon as you pop up on Google and they are at the right stage, at the decision stage, they fill in the form.
So how does the attribution software differ from the tracking we talked about earlier? Because that sounds quite similar to me.
No, the attribution software actually tells the whole journey. So you can see if you don't have the tracking right, you won't be able to see the attribution anyway. Right, so you have to have the tracking right from each platform at the beginning before you can connect your attribution.
Sorry, quickly, just in terms of attribution, for some of the people that may not know what attribution actually means in this context, how would you quickly define that?
Yeah, attribution is actually how much an opportunity is credited, like which activity gets the credit for your opportunity created, or deal created or deal closed, right? So it's actually taking into account all the touch points as single prospects have gone throughout the process. And here you have different attribution models or methods. You have first touch, you have last touch. It says the first touch is crediting the first touch the most, the last touch is crediting the last touch the most. But the best part is the best attribution method is the data-driven, which actually connects the dots and by its algorithm credits all the activities based on which has the most influence. And using these several, there's actually few attribution softwares out there which does it really well. And from there you can really see what activity has the most influence. And just in our case, just to give an example, I really see that when we push, for instance, these product-related videos at the bottom funnel, it has huge influence on the conversion because they are watching it a lot, because now they're in the stage where they are ready to take a decision on whether they should shortlist your company or your solution or not. Then here we see that our product videos, which might sound boring for a top of funnel point of view, that's why we are promoting at the lower funnel, at the low end. And here we see that these product videos are actually quite interesting for those that are very close to a decision. And this is just an example on what you can see and track in an attribution software. So you can do more of it if you want, and actually analyze all the activities across your ecosystem, because the attribution software is connected to the whole marketing ecosystem, and it gathers and collects data from your CRM, from your paid channels, and so on. And and from there you can actually get a lot of great data to analyze.
But that also requires your tracking to be on point, no?
Of course,
because otherwise it might lead you to like misleading kind of conclusions.
Yes, 100%. That's why it's so important, because then you will take decisions on false or incorrect data, and all your decisions, from my point of view, should of course be data driven. So it makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe we take a little bit of a step back, zoom out a little bit, looking at like basically the whole area of work that you work with, and looking at like building the right funnel. What would you say would be like the main kind of check boxes to tick to have a successful funnel and success in this in this space?
Assuming that everything is right, as we talked about until now, right? Then because you have a strategy phase, and you have a content production phase or stage, and then you have a content distribution phase.
Yeah.
And building the full funnel is actually where you produce the content and distribute it. You are so content is so important. It can really scale your pipeline value, or you can actually just spend your money without leading to any reasonable outcome. So having the right messaging, the right design is also very important. I have tested several designs, also, even not being a designer. I tried though to design.
You myself.
But it didn't went pretty well. So let's say messaging, design, and the content in general can really make or break it. So it's very important, and throughout the whole funnel. So it's not like only.
But let's try to kind of like complete the list. So now we have kind of like the kind of content side, and which I will now also include like messaging and design in.
Yeah.
But kind of let's look at the other side, where I imagine something like the tracking will come in. So how do we complete the list to kind of like be fully content with running our campaign?
A well-structured funnel will definitely be is key, but also the analytics part. So the tracking and analytics goes hand in hand. So being able to analyze all the data that you get from your activities can also make or break it. So you have to have a strong follow-up process on the outcomes of your activities, and it could be like from CPM prices for CPC prices, cost per click, or the price for reaching 1,000 professionals on LinkedIn, for instance. So having the tracking right, having a well-structured full funnel marketing approach with the right content, messaging, and design. The last step would definitely be to be able to analyze the data with your reporting, and also thinking of how you can automate a lot of the stuff. But that's for more advanced level that we can discuss maybe later. But these are definitely the three things that can scale the pipeline value a lot. So what did we say? We said tracking, right? We said content, and we said analytics, and data-driven, decisions. So to optimize your full funnel marketing approach, especially on LinkedIn. And also, what I will add to this is definitely the being open to learn, test, and adapt, because the environment is changing, and the tools and the technologies are changing. So you should definitely be able to test a lot and experiment a lot. And this is exactly how you learn. And if you don't do so, if you don't do it enough, you would never know what really works better than today.
Actually, I have a question to that, because you mentioned that content is really important.
Yeah.
And the creativity, the creative is important, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned that you do design. You're not a designer. I was assuming you're kind of a marketeer. How would you place the importance of kind of the quality of content within all of this?
The quality of content is very important, but I won't say it's more important than your messaging, right? Or it's not more important than your value proposition. So you can still get very far having the right message, the right audience, and the right design and so on. And if you see something works in this space, then you can spend more money on increasing the quality of the content. So when you start small, based on if you have a smaller budget, you would slowly increase the quality of your content throughout the funnel when you see something works. I won't necessarily invest millions in high quality content that if I don't have the right approach on the full funnel marketing and a well structured go-to-market strategy, strategy, right?
I mean, for us, like, the philosophy really is that you can invest a ton of money in really, really good content that could potentially perform, but if it's not put in front of the right people at the right time, then your money is kind of flushed down a toilet, right?
That's why the ecosystem is very complex. Yeah. It's very hard, but you really need to see what you can adjust across the whole ecosystem.
Okay. Sorry, as an extension to that then, you say that you keep on talking about the ecosystem and the landscape and that it's ever changing. Do you see any kind of trends happening that the people who are watching right now could be take into consideration when planning their digital marketing strategy?
Yeah, the trends right now is definitely how to utilize the AI tools and technology, right? And we see that we talked about AI agents before, right? So this is actually also a space where I'm looking into right now to see how I can benefit from the technology via AI agents and do deeper automations. So when assuming you have everything on a reasonable level, you will start look into automations to save time. And time is money. So the more time you can save, the more you can spend on other valuable activities. So what I see, especially in 2025, will become more and more important is deep automations, and also making AI agents work for you. And so today, we use a lot of tools to automate our activities, especially responding to leads and forms and programs, nurturing programs that we have, and based on the engagement and the intent data that we receive, you can create some automatic outreach on prospects that are showing high engagements on your website, for instance, right? All these are built on automations that are actually looking at your landscape or your ecosystem, and it lives in your CRM, right? But so just to mention the difference between these small automations and AI agents is of what I know. I have never tried AI agents before. It's still very new to me. But the interesting part, the reason I'm looking into it is because that it can do much more than automation. It can actually work in your ecosystem as it was a personal assistant. So you can give it access to all your platforms, all your channels. It can create content for you, and it can optimize your ads. It can do a lot of stuff, right? So to see how it works in reality is really something that I'm very interested in seeing. And so without having any experience in AI agents right now, I really think that I think that the hype is real, and I will look into this in 2025 definitely. But for now, we will keep it for building a custom GPT, and I will use custom GPTs a lot, which helps me a lot. It saves me a lot of time. And just to quickly mention, custom GPTs is when you use your ChatGPT and build your own personal assistants, but it's based on prompts, right? So the difference again with AI agents, I don't need to prompt anything. You have to automations are built on predefined rules, and you can't really go beyond the rules that you define. With AI agents, it should be possible for them to make their own decisions based on their intelligence that are built in. So they can actually take decisions on behalf of you.
And kind of contextualize in your ecosystem.
Exactly.
That's kind of scary though.
Yeah.
Great word.
AI is taking over marketing as well.
But it sounds promising. That's why I think it's worth
considering.
It's still in the very early stages based on the hype we see out there, right?
Yeah.
But it's definitely promising. I also see big profiles also mentioning it. So I definitely think it's worth it. But based on custom GPTs, it's something we can do easily today, right?
Yeah.
And I still discuss with a lot of people who is not benefiting from the custom GPTs. And the custom GPTs, actually, you can find a lot of plugins in ChatGPT already that most of the marketers already know. But for those that haven't really explored or investigated, I'll definitely recommend them to create their own custom GPTs. For instance, if you need a content manager or a content assistant, or if you need an expert in your industry. As a marketeer, we are not, industry experts. We are marketing experts, but we are not experts in the technology space, right? Where you are selling your technology solution, for instance. And here you can easily build an expert within your industry who has several abilities or qualifications to solve several problems.
It doesn't need to sleep. We want to know. He sounds really excited about it. It's like how to hire many employees, but at no cost or low cost.
Yeah, but it's
no
always
labor rights. That's great.
It always we always have to do more with less, also based on the circumstances that we are living in today, right? Yeah. So benefiting from technology is different. That's something that I prize.
I think looking here at the bleeding edge and also of what's to come is actually a great way for us to slowly close this segment. We could ask you many more questions, and I could also imagine maybe the viewers have some more questions, which you can happily leave in the comments. No promises made, but maybe you'll answer a couple of them. Let's see.
Yeah.
In the comments. But one last question before we close the segment. If you wanted to impress, let's say, your 12-year-old nephew, how would you describe what you do?
That's a good question, actually.
It's a good one. I'll say I do YouTube videos. They understand. If the 12 years old, they understand social media, right? So I'll say that I promote products and solutions using social media. And a 12-year-old is probably, they have already seen a lot of ads, right? So they have a kind of an idea of what we do. I will never explain them all the full funnel marketing approach and the intent data and attribution software and all that stuff, but just leaving it there, I think is
it's not a bad idea. You get them with YouTube.
You're a YouTuber.
All right, it's awesome. Let's take a quick break, and then we're back.
We'll continue the rest.
Yeah, let's do that.
Perfect.
So this is one of our most anticipated portions of the podcast. We have actually reached out to a lot of the people in our network, our past clients, partners, people we worked with, people who work within marketing, and asked them to send in some questions. that we can use in this segment that we call the Blitz Q&A. So now Tuna and all of his glory and expertise will be challenged. We're going to put in here a 20-second timer. We're going to ask some questions, some of them easy, some of them not so easy, some of them broad, some of them specific, and he has to, within 20 seconds, give his informed answer. Would you be ready for that, Tuna? You have no choice.
Let's give it a try.
Okay, you want to ask the first question? I'll set the timer up in a sec. 20 seconds. Ask the question and I'll start the timer.
All right. So, question 1. What does the LinkedIn algorithm prefer? So, kind of like what format, moving, clickable image, what kind of length or description?
The ad description should be minimum, or the recommended is 150 characters if you are running, from single image ads or video ads. I still have. Oh, that's quick. And at the mid funnel, I would prefer, as we said, custom.
Okay, actually, this is super interesting. So the way you divided it is that there's no like one piece of content that works really well, right?
No.
There is kind of the funnel that you've created, the top, middle, and funnel, and then different pieces of content may perform better depending on your target audience.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why you have to test what they prefer to consume, right? And looking into, for instance, LinkedIn it also have text ads, which is pretty interesting because
Plus, isn't that Blitz anymore? No, that we're starting the discussion again.
all right, okay,
We're moving on.
Yeah.
okay. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Okay.
All right, no. Let's
The second question, and I'm going to restart. You know what? I'm going to give you 25 seconds.
Did we respond to the first question?
I mean, we did respond to it.
Okay.
So just to summarize, there's 3 layers of the funnel, and your recommendation is that you have to test the audience to see what it works.
Yeah, but normally from the experience, a middle funnel is customer cases, is use cases, is webinars, for instance.
In the form of video or what?
Yeah, the webinars is form of video, small snippets that are engaging prospects to click on it and to watch the full video.
Okay, what about bottom stuff?
The bottom funnel, it would be more product related, single image ads, and you could also use lead gen forms to capture the leads. Otherwise, you could also redirect to your Book a Demo page.
Okay, and then the top of funnel was, you mentioned that in the podcast or the.
I prefer videos, but normally I also use videos throughout the whole funnel, and also text ads because text ads are the small text on the right side of the LinkedIn that no one is clicking on anyway. So you're actually getting free exposure and free impression. So that's why it might also be.
Why don't we up it to 30 seconds?
Well,
I say 30 seconds.
And just quickly also the character limit, just to sum that up, what was?
150 characters.
150 characters.
150 for the ad description.
There we go.
Great. Next question.
Next question. Wait, I'm doing the timer. What's the next question? All right. So what is the best way to catch the eye of, let's say, financial media or journalists on LinkedIn, in your opinion, if we're running paid ads towards them? How would you go about that?
I would create targeted ads to build credibility and to show your expertise to your audience. So that's definitely the most anticipated ad format for these kind of challenges.
Oh, amazing. Short and sweet.
Well, in the nick of
Actually, so short. 15 seconds.
We'll credit though.
I still have 5 seconds left, so.
Yeah, we upped it to 30. Okay. You can have plus 15 in the next one.
It's okay.
Okay, here's a question. What is the minimum recommended monthly spend for brand awareness or reputation management? How would you approach that?
Oh, it's a broad question. It totally depends on the industry, the audience size, and all the aspects that you have to take into account before defining anything. But the minimum ad spend that I would go with will be 5K, but that's minimum. So
5,000 euros on a monthly basis.
On a monthly basis, yes, would be my recommended minimum ad spend.
All right.
Nice. 2 seconds to spare. All right, next question. So what is the secret to getting followers to really engage with your post? That's actually a really good question.
You have to create some value upfront, first of all, and also ask questions to the audience. What I especially see what people are doing on LinkedIn is that they are creating a lot of value on knowledge, sharing the knowledge and expertise within a certain area, and then they are asking questions to the audience to engage with them in the comments. Right. So the more you comment and replying to your potential prospects or your audience comments and questions, it will definitely scale your engagement.
Okay, so
Perfect.
value adding
Exactly.
and knowledge sharing. Amazing.
And doing that upfront.
Okay, so here's another question. Are LinkedIn ads actually effective? And to give a little bit of context, the person here says that they feel like the targeting algorithm doesn't work very well for them in terms of what they see on their feed. They don't feel like it's very well tailored to them. So are the ads still effective?
You can do many. There's a lot of pitfalls, right? I don't have time enough to go into all the pitfalls, but you have to do the targeting right. That's why I recommend that align your targeting with your stakeholders and sales before you go into LinkedIn. And all the wrong things that they're seeing are being promoted might be wrong targeting.
Okay.
So you're saying that it's actually not because it's because of wrong targeting, not because the ads are bad, or a combination of both.
Yeah, I don't know the context here, but it sounds like that to me.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not the algorithm per se, but more like what the companies that advertise actually set as their target audience.
If it's sponsored content, then it's about targeting. But of course, you can see a lot of organic posts.
Yeah,
they're not targeted because you can see a lot of different posts that really don't interest you or anything. But if it's sponsored, it's all about targeting.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of moving over from LinkedIn to Google. So how do you, here in quotations, steal the prime spot? And I'm assuming they mean kind of being the first search result. How do you steal the prime spot when someone does a Google search for a specific topic?
That's also a pretty broad thing to ask because it's not only one specific criteria, but the landing page experience have to be good for Google to rank your search terms. The messaging and the click-through rates have to be high, and it just have to resonate and create value to the user who's searching for it. So it's an overall experience.
So just to kind of understand that clearly, Google needs to recognize you and your website as a valuable space for people that want to kind of, see it. Is that correct?
But you also have to take into account the bidding, for instance. And you cannot just rank number one just because you are bidding the highest, right? So your website is very, very important here, and the overall experience and engagement, or let's say click-through rates for.
So in that sense, it's important to understand Google wants people to use them as a search engine. Therefore, Google always provides the best potential searches, not just because you are paying the most money.
No, but you still have to pay a significant amount.
You still do have to pay a lot of money, but on top of paying a lot of money,
that's not the only thing we have to.
We have to be a good website that performs well, has a lot of. Okay, that's another topic. That makes sense.
Also, the bounce rate, for instance, they're looking into, right?
Yeah.
So the last question is actually a follow-up question to the prior question regarding the prime spot on Google, which is actually asking where is the prime spot? Kind of, is the first result on Google actually the most desirable, or are there other things to take into consideration of what to kind of like aim for as the best thing to achieve?
From my point of view, I think if you are at the top 3, that's enough. I've read a couple of research which says actually that people are more likely to click on the second spot and not the first spot. It depends on the specific case, of course, right? But so there are different opinions about that. But,
so how do you get on the second spot? Can you like pay a little less? I want to be on I'll pay a little less on the first spot. Increase the likelihood.
Okay, so in other words, if you're in the top 3, you don't really need to stress of like moving up or down one spot.
I think the data and the performance should decide that, right? So it all depends on your certain case. But this is what just I have read. So if I'm top 3, I'm pretty happy. But of course, everybody wants the first spot. But top 3 is reasonable to get enough traffic to convert on your website.
Very cool. that actually concludes our speed round of questions from the audience, and it also actually concludes our podcast with you. We touched on a lot of topics now, some of them actually quite briefly. So I see a lot of potential of actually going deeper into some of these topics. And again, also to the audience, if you have any topics you'd really like us to kind of go a lot deeper in, just leave in the comments what you're interested in hearing about, and we might make a future episode about it. But for now, all I have left to say is thank you very much for coming on, Tuna.
Thank you, Tuna. Thank you very much, guys, and see you in the next episode.
Why does sounds to the extent also invited yourself. Exactly. All right.
You never know.
Wait, actually, if anybody has any questions for Tuna will see this posted on LinkedIn. We're going to tag him so he knows when it goes live. If you have any questions, write it down in the comments. And Tuna, we're going to force him to respond to some of them. So make sure to write your questions there. All right, thanks, Tuna. And that's our first podcast.
Signing off.
What is this? What is this?
Thank you.
Can we do a triple? Like a three-way?
Nah. I think that's good. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Brand new. Timing is everything. What you say? Brand new.